Hollandaise sauce is traditionally a lemon butter sauce. And boy, talk about something my mother loves. She never met a lemon anything she didn't want to eat. And Hollandaise sauce is no exception. And she happens to be a complete butter freak. And she's lived a very long and healthy life. So obviously butter hasn't been too bad for her. And so it's all about the butter and the lemon and the Hollandaise sauce. But I just wanted to switch it up just a little bit. So I have some tangerine that I'm putting in with the lemon. It makes it really, really, really nice. So I basically have just got some zest here that I'm just gonna get into the sauce a little bit later, and juicing both the tangerine and the lemon, and look at all those seeds. When that's the case, you're gonna make sure that you catch it with a little bit of a strainer here, which is what I have. And in total, I need about 5 teaspoons of tangerine juice. So I don't think I'm gonna need the whole thing, but let me just take a quick second here and see if I've got what I need before I move on. I would wager that that is 5, so I'm not even gonna worry about it. And then lemon. You can pretty much guarantee that a regular sized juicy lemon is gonna yield out 2 tablespoons. I mean, it's just, now and then I'll test my theory and I'll measure it, but I think this is gonna be just about what I need, 2 tablespoons. Now, any Hollandaise has egg yolks. So I have 5 egg yolks here that I've already separated, 2 tablespoons of water, and I'm just gonna get this whisked up, and I have some water in a pan here starting to form my own double boiler. Sometimes I think Hollandaise sauce can seem a little intimidating, but it's really very few ingredients and there's not much you have to do. Now, this is going right here. You got to make sure that it's cooking low because you don't want to scramble your eggs here. So you just want to whisk this for about a minute, just get it frothy and get those egg yolks working for you. And I think it's perfect right now. So if I have 5 teaspoons of the tangerine juice, let's just say I put in 3 of them, which is a tablespoon. So I'll put that in, and then a tablespoon of lemon juice, and whisk this together, get that egg yolk used to having a little bit of citrus in there, and just a little bit of whisking, just enough to get it going. All right, now this whole thing goes to the blender, and it just wraps up in no time in the blender. So just bring it on over, get everything into the blender jar, and then we finish it up. Okay, so remember the tangerine zest? Well, we're putting some of that in, about a 1/4 teaspoon. Okay, and then because we have a little bit less lemon, we need to put a little more tang in here. So I'm just putting about a 1/4 teaspoon of vinegar, just plain vinegar, and a pinch, about 1/8 of a teaspoon of cayenne, and a good pinch of salt. So with my juices, I have 1 tablespoon of lemon juice left. And remember, total of 5 teaspoons of tangerine juice. So that means I need 2 more teaspoons here. And this should, fingers crossed, have just the right tang and butteriness and consistency. So first we want to just mix this up. And then the butter, 1½ cups of melted butter. If we're lucky, this is finished and perfect. Oh, fluffy and delicious. One of the most gorgeous sauces you will ever have in your whole life, Hollandaise sauce. So I'm just gonna put this in the bowl, and I can just keep it warm if I want, right over here on my simmering water, or I can reheat it a little bit later. I have here a beautiful piece of salmon, a whole fillet. And what I'm gonna do is just cut it into 6 pieces. And now actually I will get my pan on. We want our pan hot enough, but not too hot. All right, there we go. Beautiful. This is the time of year that salmon is beautiful. And it's also the time of year that I want to splurge a little bit on my mom. So how I handle that is just to cut it first in half lengthwise. And by the way, when I got it from the fishmonger, I had the skin taken off. So that's a nice tip for you. I want just a nice, clean, beautiful piece of salmon here. My mom, when she makes salmon, she always poaches it. And she says that's her favorite way. So I've got to make sure that this is just as good the way I'm making it. Now I'm just taking each half and cutting it into thirds for a nice portion for each person. And then one little tip here, just because I like to flatten it, I'm not making scallops per se, or, you know, scallopini in any way. I just want to make sure that the center is pretty much a little bit more thin, because this is quite a thick piece of salmon, actually. So I just put a piece of plastic wrap over top, and then carefully, because it is fish and you don't want to break it, you just kind of, just a gentle pounding just to get it without breaking it up too much, and I don't have to really do it on the end, just in the middle. A little bit here, not too much here, and here. And then the only thing you really need is some seasoning. But I'm gonna do that once it gets into the pan. So it's warm, and I've got a little bit of oil, which I've taken here and put in its own little container, because of course I have salmon hands now. And then these pieces go sort of the top, this is the part I'm gonna serve down. And if it doesn't all fit in the pan, then you can do it in batches. But I have a feeling I'm gonna be okay here. I'm gonna put this big piece right in the middle. Let's see how we're doing. Yep, I think it's gonna be just fine. Now, because I want to keep the top of that salmon very, very beautiful for the presentation, because with my mom, it's all about the presentation, I am gonna season with salt and white pepper the underside where the skin was. So there'll be a nice seasoning to it, but the top will look very beautiful. Perfect. Now I don't want to do too much to mix it up here. I might just make sure that I have the oil distributed throughout the pan. So within about 30 seconds, my first piece, the thinnest piece, is ready to turn. So be very gentle, and look how beautiful it is. The salmon is finished, so I'm turning off the pan. My Hollandaise sauce has very nicely held itself just to stay warm. A nice little tip to reheat your Hollandaise sauce, or to keep it warm, just keep it over gently boiling water. I mean, in a bowl over gently boiling water. And the way I like to serve this, especially since there's usually a group when we're eating, is I just put all the salmon pieces on a platter and then just douse it in a little Hollandaise sauce. But of course, you have to have extra Hollandaise sauce on the side, because once someone knows there's Hollandaise sauce there, they're gonna want more. But it's such a beautiful presentation. Actually, I'm gonna hijack one of these pieces myself and just put it on my own plate. And so I like to serve it in some kind of a pourable boat kind of thing, but you can see the beautiful consistency here. So I can just keep it warm here on the stove and just put enough in to serve. So that's perfect.